top right-hand corner. Hasn't had the best results recently, but is trying to get back into it, is Dragon Phoenix Gaming Zest. And in the bottom left, from Alpha X, so not able to make it into group stages of GSL, it is Classic. In fact, actually, I don't think either of these players able to make it into the group stages, if I'm not wrong. Both of them did get eliminated. Zest by an extremely close margin versus Ryung. A match that he should have won. A position where he should have been in that round of 10. But was not. Did just misplay it. Did make some pretty egregious errors in trying to end the game. So ended up resulting in Ryung advancing over him. And Zest not being able to try and get the win in the first season of GSL. Gonna face off against Classic, and man, this is such an OG match. Like, there's not much to talk about because, of course, with these players, they just don't play a lot, and there hasn't been a lot of tournaments going on. This, of course, King of Battles is really the first big one alongside GSL, and so that's really all that you have as reference. It is those two things, which is a really interesting situation to be in. I believe I'm actually going to try and remember off the top of my head. I believe that Classic recently has been having a decently good performance, but was not able to quite get out of his GSL group, his original group. Yeah, neither of them made it out of the round of 20. Classic did have a bit of a worse time with it. Had a very rough group. But, you know, it's going to be interesting. PvP definitely for both these players, I would say, is one of their stronger matchups. I think right now, actually, if I'm not wrong, Classic right now does have a 61% win rate in his PvP. Yeah, is his best matchup by far. And Zest is in a similar spot. Zest has a 69% win rate in PvP. Haha, nice. But Zest's PvP, of course, is always good. It's a matchup that I think he really knows in and out very, very well. And it shows. He is just so good at making things crazy, reading builds, but he can get thrown off occasionally. And I don't think we're going to see either of these players be really insane with their builds. It should just be kind of your standard play. As we were having the early pylons get cleaned up, both players did go for the Stalker into Sentries. Classic opted for 2 Stalkers, 2 Sentries. Zest with 3. So, an interesting choice there. I'm not sure what advantage you get with the 3 Sentries over the 2. But Zest obviously making that choice, and we'll see if it ends up working out for him. As Classic has managed to put down a proxy pylon across the map. Zest did hide a pylon of his own, but it was just to hide it. When you have early probes across the map scouting from your opponent, it's actually nice to hide your second or third pylon just to get them thinking. Because if you hide that pylon, the other Protoss players will be thinking, well, what's going on? What is happening? Why isn't there a pylon in your base? They have to look for it as, oh my, that is a dark shrine. As Classic is getting just a little bit cheesy here. And realistically, what does Zest have to actually scout this? Did he go for a robotics facility is the big question, because both players are going into Blink. This is a completely standard build from both players up to this point. But what is the tech for Zest? And that's what I'm keeping my eye on in the production tab right now. I believe there should be something else. As yeah, Zest is going to scout around. Did notice, oh, Zest. Oh, okay. He's going to scout it. Did notice that there was no additional tech in the main, so he's going to go looking for it. Should be able to find it with, oh, is that Stalker going to be able to find it? Okay, yes. It will be able to. But just a bit of intuition there from Zest. I don't even really know what he actually saw, because I don't know if there was a lot to give this away as a robotics facility and a forge immediately on the way. Interesting enough, there was no detection before this, so you don't really have anything to defend or to scout out or to see for Zest. No observers, And so DTs are going to be warped in. They're going to head across the map immediately. The full wall from Zest here is going to try and close it off with the sentries. And the Stalkers actually, oh, great move, manages to trap the Dark Templar. Is going to be able to blink away and then complete the wall. This is a great response so far from Zest. Look at these blinks. Oh, gorgeous. As the sentries should be able to slow this down. Pylon will go down. Force fields will still come up, and just one missing pylon is all it takes for Zest here to really shut down this DT opener. Of course, is having to invest a lot into just defending this, as there's a few pylons going down at home. Zest looking to construct more of a wall, and Classic just backs up and says, all right, you're the one who's put the money into this. As behind this, I mean, right now, Classic 46 workers to 40 has actually found himself a worker lead. Does not have a forge yet and is a bit slower on his robotics facility, but that's just the nature of things, as Zest is using his to get Observer, so there shouldn't be too much of an advantage there in Mortal production or even at Warp Prism. But the +1 is really going to be the big difference, as Zest starts off with a great hold and is just going to be able to really deny any more of these Dark Templars. Oh, those force fields. Zest. You beautiful man. What's that? As these blinks are actually just... This is being handled so well by Zest. He has barely lost anything. I don't think he's even lost a single Stalker to this. That is crazy that you could be that efficient. But the third base is already up for Classic. And behind this, that's what Classic has really been able to do. He's been able to use this pressure, use this momentum to add on his third, add on an additional base and say, all right, well, now I'm just going to have a better economy than you. And he does. He's up 9 workers, 8 workers on Zest, who's sitting back and just working on his +1, working on his charge. That's not stuff that Classic is really going to give him the time to take advantage of. He has his own forge. He has additional gateways. His charge will be done before that of Zest. The only advantage right now is that +1, and it doesn't even look like Classic wants to threaten that. Classic's just going to go straight into a natural base, or a 4th base. Sorry. As Zest opting for the robotics facility and the robotics bay, so gonna be going into double disruptor production. As Archons are being warped in for Classic, and it looks like he might want to make a push across the map now. I don't think you can really fault him for it. Right now has a lot of gateways, has the charge, has Archons that could be morphed in. It's a strong army from Classic, and he has a 4th Nexus on the way. You can just apply a little pressure. You can push here. You can try and find some damage. Of course, you're not going to have that +1, which is going to make the math a little bit fuzzy here, even with the Archons added in. But this push from Classic, we'll see. Decides to turn around so far. Is not going to commit on in just yet. Trying to just maneuver around, find an opening, look to see if there's any place where he feels comfortable attacking in, and the answer to that so far has been no. It looks like both players are going to get into Disruptors. Robotics Facility number 2 and the Robotics Bay on the way for Classic as well. And right now, I mean, Classic has a he has a massive lead, actually. It's 15 workers ahead for Classic. He's getting his Dark Shrine up again, so he will be using that for late game charge lot and I imagine Blink DT run-bys. Is sitting at an equal-sized army. And sure, Zest handled that Dark Templar pressure fine. You know, Zest was able to mitigate any damage that would happen. Zest was able to make sure that he didn't lose anything. But behind it, Classic has actually found himself such a massive advantage. He's up 23 workers! Like, Zest has Disruptors first, but I don't know if Disruptors first is really going to matter when your opponent is going to be mining so much more than you. This 4th base for Zest is a solid minute, 2 minutes behind that of his opponent. This might start to get worrisome, as here we go, Charge Lots for his Charge Lots. Classic, actually not an attack move, is going to get his trapped, and that's already a pretty big loss here to start off this fight, is at the 3rd base. Ooh, Disruptor Shot is actually really good to start off. Classic not going to be happy with that trade right off the bat. Still, we're going to be seeing Zest here trying to set up 2-pronged pressure. These Zealot drops in the main, though, trying to be a little bit annoying. Uh-oh, what? Classic! No, the Disruptors were there. They were free. He's only going to get one with his first shot, one with his second, but that was just awful. As, oh, the surround's going to come in. Zest is blinking on in. Zest is down workers, but he doesn't care. He's losing so much in the main, but doesn't matter because he has the full 360 surround. Disruptor's coming out. It gets canceled by Zest. The blink forward doesn't matter. And Zest wins game 1. Excuse me there, y'all. But that first game, definitely a bit shocking in how it ended up going. Classic felt like had almost every advantage in the world aside from army size. I mean, it was fairly even in that department. There really wasn't much of a difference. I think there was less zealots available because Classic did go for a zealot weapon in the main. And so you don't have that defensive zealot weapon. So that does just have a little bit more across the map, but that really didn't feel like it was going to matter. Because had the disruptors been sniped right off the bat with the blink, I've said this a million times already. If you snipe those disruptors with the blink, your stalkers are still alive. Then your archons can move forward, and you have your own disruptor shots for Zest blink stalkers. That I think that entire game looked completely different. Completely different. But regardless, Zest does get the win. Has the killer instinct really to realize that he can commit on in. And he can find the surround there, especially the Zealots completely bypassing the 4th base and going straight for the surround on Classic's army. As well, this is a Blackburn game if there's ever been a Blackburn game. Both players going with the full wall with the Stargate. Are you surprised? No. Blackburn as a map has, of course, a lot of dead airspace. It's a map where you have this ramp up into the main base, so if your opponent is cheesing, excuse me, you can just get a full wall, and you have a Stargate, so you can get Void Rays, and boom, you're completely safe. Luckily, both players have probes across the map, so they're able to scout this out. They're able to look for pylon blocks. In fact, going to even add on the cybernetics core here for both players. They're just looking to delay each other as much as possible. And this is kind of the standard. This is kind of the standard opening that actually we would see usually in the PvPs. Is Classic is just going to continue to be annoying, actually. He got the kill on Zest's probe and decides to add on another pylon across the map. He's going to continue to try and delay Zest. And actually going to have the advantage here on Phoenix production as another. Wait, Classic, no. This is more than you're supposed to do. This is more. What? I am shocked right now as Classic. We'll cancel away those other two buildings. Has decided that he has delayed enough of Zest's natural. We'll get his own up. And I mean, again, you can kind of do this because you're going Phoenix. You know that both players are going Phoenix, and so you can look for the Nexus delay for as long as you want. You have your probe still alive because you're only going to be building Phoenix. And that means that you only need 150 minerals, 100 gas every, what is it, 12 seconds, 16 seconds or so. So you're completely fine with going for that much of a delay because it means that you're just going to have a small advantage and you can continue to use that. With that being said, Zest is going up into double Stargate. So that leaves a bit of a conundrum for the other player. As the opposing Phoenix player, if your opponent puts down their second Stargate first, you have two options, really. You put down your second Stargate later and potentially go up to 3, double down on the Phoenix, and you decide, all right, I'm going to try and match you. But you're going to be delayed, so you have to sit back and you have to defend. Alternatively, you throw down another tech. You get into a Twilight Council, get into Blink, get into ground units, and you start to head in that direction. I don't know if Classic is going to choose that, though. Well, there's your answer. Fleet Beacon on the way. Classic immediately going to be going for Andean Pulse Crystals. Only off the one Stargate, though. Has not added on a second. Interesting. Interesting. It's going to be a matter of micro ability for Classic versus the pure numbers that are available for Zest. So right now, I would love to get a look at that Phoenix count. As oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, Phoenix versus Phoenix. This is early PvP on Blackburn. I don't know what else to tell you. I hope you guys have some food, have some drinks, make some popcorn potentially if you guys want to get up, go grab a snack. You know, make sure you have water for sure. You know, you definitely want water. Want to stay hydrated for a match like this. This game, it's definitely possible, is going to go for about 23 minutes. I know I should do the same, maybe. We'll see. But as I said, we're going to be seeing Classic here go into the Anion Pulse Crystals a little bit quicker than his opponent. And I'm not sure on the Phoenix count yet, but Zest has a lot more. Zest has so many more. And Zest does realize that right now. Ooh, the one-shots are actually really good to start off here for Zest. Really knocks down, gets a 2-for-1 trade. He's almost up double the amount of Phoenix. And, I mean, even with the advantage on Anion Pulse Crystals, when you have this many more Phoenix, it's so hard. But there we go. Look at that additional range. It's going to make this so much harder for Zest to fight it. Have to try and chase it down. It's going to be able to start a little bit, but yeah, whew, the difference that this upgrade makes is actually ridiculous. And Classic so far has been controlling this fairly perfectly, as Zest is just not able to shoot any shots at the Phoenix. He's getting kited back. All of his are so low. Oh my god, Classic! Give him a break. This is brutal. As GG's just going to be called a Classic. The Anion Pulse Crystals is actually insane. Never mind, numbers don't matter. I did not realize how big that upgrade was. Anion Pulse Crystals, turns out, is a pretty good upgrade. I didn't realize that. Also, the Phoenix Micro from Classic was just insane. Using that upgrade, I think, to about the fullest potential that you can. The pullbacks were absolutely on point. Zest was trying to commit across the map with the Phoenix advantage, and it did not matter. Classic just absolutely bonking that game out of the park. I like this from Classic. Has actually gone with a low ground pylon. And of course, this isn't to be cheesy or anything. This is just to throw off his opponent to say, oh, where's my second pylon, Zest? You don't know. Is also going to be going for not a second gateway, but immediately into the Cyber Core, and will be actually opting for optionally faster tech or a faster natural base with the double gas. Looks like it's going to be kind of straight into his tech option, as it will be the double gateway for Zest. And so that's just a slight build difference, as this is an annoying pylon. Just going to try and delay as much mining as possible. And we should see actually a slight income advantage over to Zest, just because of this. But other than that, the openings here are going to be pretty standard. And as we see, Classic immediately into the Stargate, so gets the faster tech. Is going to have that Stargate a lot quicker than his opponent. And pretty much means that you're going to have an Oracle across the map a lot faster. Actually, does manage to deny the scout there. I don't know if Zest did see the Stargate. The real tell will be if you put down the shield battery in the main base mineral line. But as it is now, we're going to be seeing, I imagine this will be an Oracle first here for Classic, potentially into a Void Ray to help with the defense of the two Stalkers that are going to come across the map. Or immediately into a Void Ray is also an option here for Classic. Yeah. Doesn't want to go for the harassment, is instead going to go for the safe option with the early Nexus. Says, alright, Void Rays are still pretty good at defense. And that's true, even with the changes, they're just less strong. Pretty much the whole change with Void Rays means that you cannot get them out as early. They're not as safe of an option in the early game unless it's a large map like Glittering Ashes. It's harder to do a proxy with them because they build slower. And so it does just mean that the Void Ray is a little bit more balanced in the early game. It's a little bit more of an investment to get it out, and you're delaying your other Stargate units just a little bit more, as it's going to be immediately into the Oracle as a follow-up from Classic. And the Twilight Council will be quite far behind for our yellow Protoss here. It means that Zest will have the advantage on that blink timing. We'll have, I think, quite a few more Stalkers. Right now it has 3 out. It's not added on additional gateways just yet. Is just finishing up his second base as well. As this is a strange push here, but Zest's not really ready. The Sentry is immediately going to go down. The Stalkers are actually being focused here. The Workers get knocked down by the Oracle, and oh my, this attack. Working out decently well. Finally, more units are going to come on through, but suddenly the Stalker advantage is with Classic, as that's 7 Workers for free. And you actually manage to find damage. You get a kill on the Stalker. Oh, Classic, that micro. Should also be able to knock down the Stalker of his opponent. Oracle comes back on in. More probes should go down. Oh, Oracle does need to back on up. As that was a decent commit in for Classic. Gets, I mean, 7 Workers, gets 7 Stalkers for 2. Is ridiculously good of a trade, especially when your opponent is going to be going into Blink. I mean, Zest has 4 gates. Zest wants to go into a Blink timing attack. That's not really going to be allowed. Now you have to be cognizant of the Oracle. Now you have just less units than your opponent on the follow-up. And we immediately see that there's going to be a shield battery pop down for Classic, an additional pylon, robotics facility, and the blink of his own. This just feels like a really good position for Classic off that attack. I mean, it was such an off timing, but it works so well as the Oracle dives on in. Just going to look for a few more probe kills. Finds 4, doesn't manage to get on out with a blink forward. But still, at this point, you are absolutely happy with how much value you have been able to get out of these units. And now Classic's blink is going to be finishing up fairly shortly as well. He's adding on an additional gateway. Is going to look to pile on the pressure here with more gateways coming down. Absolutely. A fantastic play so far from Classic. And Zest is going for a 3rd Nexus. And this could start to get a little bit messy. If Zest isn't prepared, there could be a lot of pressure coming across the map right now. Classic sitting up a significant chunk of army supply. 11 Stalkers to 5. Sure, you have the sentries, but when there's blink, those force fields aren't going to matter as much. The Guardian Shield is really going to be the spell that's going to make the most difference, but even then, you can just blink into it. As +1 is on the way for Zest. Classic is finishing up his proxy pylon, so that means that the Stalkers are going to head across the map with his 3rd base on the way. It is slower than Classic, or slower than Zest. Classic will scout that. Classic will see it. Classic knows that he should have an advantage in the army, and he's absolutely right. More Stalkers being warped on in. It is 36 army supply, 24. Immediately the blink forward onto the shield battery. As a nice dodge there of the blink from Zest. Actually manages to not lose his first Stalker. Blink forward immediately from Classic is going to be able to start to get so much value out of these units. And Zests are out of the Guardian Shield. That means that the Stalker fight is completely even as the blink backs come through. Still, I mean, not quite one-shot potential here for Classic, but he's still finding value. As a few probes have gone down. Some great pickoffs onto those units. And, ooh, Zest pushing forward here. He doesn't know that there's a proxy gateway, and that might just be too big of a blunder. He's blinking into the reinforcements of his opponent as the blink backs to try and get the kills on the probe. 6 already going down. Blink forward to pick off both the sentries. And now it's 8 army supply to 30. Classic handled that beautifully. And now I think has enough Stalkers to once again try and one-shot. But might just loop around towards the natural here. He's adding on additional gateways. And Classic just being so aggressive right now. I'm loving this build from him. This pressure. And, I mean, it really took advantage of the fact that Zest didn't know that proxy gate was there. As here we go, Blink Stalkers into the natural base, going to try and find more worker damage, because guess what? There's also Blink Stalkers into the 3rd base at the same time. And Classic, he's looking for the surround. GG! Classic. Wonderfully done in that game 3. Maneuvers himself to a victory.